Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the 1300mm Bigfoot from Arrows Hobby. Before I get into the content, I need to let you know this video is sponsored by Hobby Zone, who sent me this Bigfoot for review. I also want to let you know that starting on December 28th and running through January 4th, Hobby Zone is having a sale on their website. There'll be some coupon codes in the description for certain products that you'll be able to use on the website, and they have a number of discounts, including a discount for this Bigfoot. So make sure you check out hobbyzone.com if you'd like to pick up a Bigfoot for yourself and take advantage of the other sales they've got going from the 28th through the 4th of 2024. So let's cover the key specifications. This airplane has a wingspan of 1300 millimeters or 51.1 inches. It's got a length of 1060 millimeters or 41.7 inches. The center of gravity is 60 to 70 millimeters from the leading edge. The motor is a 850 kV 3536 brushless spun by a 40 amp electronic speed controller. It uses an 11x7 two-blade prop and it requires 6 9-gram servos. The landing gear are fixed in this one. As you can see, the big bush tires on the bottom, so fixed landing gear. You do get full house controls, aileron, elevator, throttle, and rudder. You also get flaps. This is an EPO airplane and the skill level on this one is beginner. The build time is 10 to 20 minutes and this plane also includes a vector gyro, which I've never used before, so I'll be curious to see how that gyro works out. Next, I'm going to take it out of the box, but real quick, they use a lot of styrofoam to keep everything separated, so I really don't see any problems with the shipping. It looks like it's well protected and hopefully yours will arrive undamaged. All right, let's get it out of the box. First up are the instructions. There's a single sheet addendum explaining how the vector is configured and set up. And then next we've got the operating manual, 1300mm Bigfoot operating manual. There are nice engineering exploded diagrams showing how everything fits together. There's information about where the wings go, about how to connect the push rods, about how your control surfaces are supposed to work, a little bit of information about the center of gravity, and some flight tips for taking off and flying the plane. And it looks like English or Chinese only in this manual. So there you go, manual looks sufficient for the job. Keep in mind, English or Chinese language only. 11x7 two-bladed prop and a plastic spinner for up front. They're both included. Here's a look at the hardware. Not an overly complex bag of kit, which means it should go together fairly quickly. We've got a couple of push rods, looks like a prop nut in there to hold the prop spinner on, a Y cable for flaps, and then a plastic piece for the landing gear underneath. So very minor hardware kit on this one, which means it'll be a quick assembly. Next up is the fuselage, and if you guys have never flown this style of plane, one thing I can tell you is that they're a lot of fun because they're just easy natured. The big landing gear, they make landings a breeze, they take a little bit of punishment, and the planes themselves tend to be highly visible and very stable. Based on the picture on the box, it does look like there's just a little bit of dihedral there, which will add to the stability, and it's probably why they market this as a beginner airplane. So anyway, there's a look at the port side of the fuselage. Everything looks good. I like the graphic scheme, nice and simple and very bright. The white and red will contrast great in the air, so I love the graphic scheme. That looks very cool to me. Up front, there's a little quick release latch to gain access to the battery compartment, which by the way, 3-cell 2200 in this one. I did not cover that in the specs because it wasn't listed, but this one does get a 3-cell 2200. And oh cool, they use an XT60 connector, which is what I have on my battery, so that makes me pretty happy. As you can see up front, the motor is already installed. There is a seam that goes all the way around the front of the cowl. Just be aware if you have to remove that front cap in order to do maintenance on the motor, the graphics cover that seam, so you'll have to cut the graphic right there on the seam, and then you'll be able to pop that off. While we're looking at the front of the airplane, I do want to point out, I don't see any real air intake. There's no air scoop. So on the sides where you'd expect that air intake to occur, there's a plastic piece blocking it. There's no way for air to ingress there. And of course you got the motor in the center, and then down on the bottom, that's not an air intake either. That's actually a landing light. That's an LED light. Here's a look at the belly of the plane. We've got faux exhaust pipes and a plastic mount for the landing gear with brass inserts, and then wing supports molded right here on the side of the fuselage. On the tail of the port side, there's a servo already installed, and then we flip over to the starboard side, we've got another servo already installed. The tail wheel is installed, and here's a look at the starboard side of the model. Very nice and clean. I don't see any problems with the molding process. Everything looks as it should. Then finally, underneath the wing, you can see the vector gyro is installed right there on the port side on the deck, and there's all the wiring you need to connect to the gyro. The wings are attached to these plastic pieces, which also have brass inserts. That'll make sure nothing gets stripped out, and the wings should hopefully stay attached to the airplane. And here's a look at the port main wing. The wing strut is already attached. The leading edge looks nice and straight, and they even have a little landing light right here out on the leading edge. And then right here on the wing tip, there's also a navigation light. So underneath that plastic enclosure, that's your nav light. I'm looking at the aileron right now and it looks straight. I don't see any warping or anything to be concerned about there. The control surfaces already have the control horns and top plates installed. This is the method I like to see the best, where they sandwich the EPO between the horn and the plate, and then they use a screw to hold things together. I just like that method the best. These are EPO hinges, so remember to flex them a little bit before you fly for the first time. And if you plan on keeping the plane for any length of time, it's a good idea to cut those free and install either a CA type hinge or a pin hinge. And I know some people like to use Blenderm tape as well. That works too. And then here's a look at the flaps. They have their own servo, of course. And then plastic screw captures right here on the top for screwing the wing down onto the airframe. And then here's a look at the bottom. The servos are installed, the connecting rods are installed, the clevises are installed, and they have the heat shrink tubing around the clevis, holding that clevis onto the control horn, which is great. I like that quite a bit. And they've done a nice job hiding the wires with wing colored tape right here on the bottom. And then of course, right here at the wing root are the wires to attach everything to your radio inside the fuselage. I do like this red and black color scheme quite a bit. I know it's gonna show up really well in the sky. Oh, and check that out. They've got these little vortex generators kind of molded into the wing up near the leading edge. That's kind of cool. All right, we'll just do a quick inspection on this one just to make sure everything looks like it should. Wing strut is attached. All of our servo wires are hidden and the servos are connected. Fuel tubing is there. The hinges all look like they're in good nick. And then we'll take a look at our nav light over here on the wingtip. That looks okay. And no landing light on this one, but that's normal for this style plane. Normally you get one landing light on one of the wings. Here's a look at the horizontal stabilizer. This one does use a torque tube. It's connected by a piece of plastic in the center, and the control horn is right here on the starboard side. I don't see any problems with the assembly. It looks straight. The hinges look good. EPO again, EPO hinges on the elevator. And there's a look at the trailing edge. I do like to take a close look at that before I fly, because if you see any unusual warping, it can cause some odd flight characteristics, but I don't really see any problems with that one. That trailing edge looks very straight. And then the same thing with the leading edge. That also looks very straight. I don't see any problems there. Nope, perfectly straight. Vertical stabilizer, also EPO hinges, and the control horn's already installed. Plastic inserts here on the bottom that'll go through the horizontal stabilizer and into the fuselage. Really cool when they do that, because that means a couple of screws will hold this in and keep the horizontal stabilizer attached to the airplane. And it also makes for quick disassembly if for some reason you need to take it apart, or if you need to effect a repair. I'd much rather have an empennage that screws on. That way, if I have to effect a repair, it's a lot easier to do it than to worry about taking apart pieces that are glued together. I like the screwed on empennage much better. So very well done there. And then finally, we've got the landing gear. The main gear is made out of aluminum, 3 holes, so it's keyed to install correctly on the airplane. And then the wheels themselves, they feel like foam. They actually feel a little dense. They're not pneumatic, so they're not filled with air. So just keep that in mind. If you're expecting air filled, that's not what these are. These are more rigid than that. They do flex a little bit, but not like an air-filled tire will do. That wraps up my first look at the Aero's 1300mm Bigfoot. One thing that's fun about planes like this is they're somewhat docile the way they fly. So every now and then, if you just want to go out to the field and relax and enjoy the aviation aspect of the hobby a little bit, it's fun to do it with a plane like this. I'm also looking forward to trying out that Vector gyro. I've never flown with one before, so we'll see how that does. And we'll also make sure we do things like check out the flight time, and we'll see what kind of power it makes. I'd like to say thanks to HobbyZone for sending this Bigfoot out for review, and I'll remind you, for 2023, they are running a sale between December 28th and January 4th, 2024. There'll be discounts online, and I also have a discount coupon in the description if you'd like to use that. If you like this kind of content, make sure you smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos hit the channel. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy and go fly something.